Very few people actually improve their grade by taking the final exam, but you know, it's always out there for you if you want, but you can also hurt yourself. Also, please keep in mind, the Golden Thinker is up for grabs, and we have a very tight race. It could go any way. Oh, Mr. Warren. He's not going to get forgiveness for those shoes. They're not red. Okay. Now let's go through what questions you want to see. I'm going to yell these out, and if you want to see them, say yes. Number 1. Number 2. You guys know what I'm talking about?
I just want to see
A mall. Anybody want to see number 1? Okay. Number 2. Apparently we're okay raising hands, not saying yes. Let's try the yes thing one more time. Number 3.
Yes.
Number 4.
Yes.
Number 5.
Yes.
Number 6.
Yes.
Number 7.
Yes.
Number 8.
Yes.
Number 9.
Yes.
Number 10.
Yes.
Y'all have got to be shitting me. Number 11.
Yes.
Number 12.
Yes.
13.
Yes.
For shame. 14.
Yes.
15.
Yep.
16.
Yep.
17.
Yep.
18.
Yes.
19.
Yes.
20.
Yes.
21.
Yep.
22.
Yep.
23.
Yes.
24.
Yes.
25. Okay. Buckle in. Here we go. On these, the first thing you want to do is look down at what they're asking for. It's asking for what is the flotation adjusted cash flow in year 0. In order to calculate that, I'm going to need the initial investment amount, and I'm going to need the weighted average flotation cost for the firm. So now I can go back and read from the top and see what information I have that I can use. Your company is considering a project that will cost $100. We're going to need that. That's the initial investment. Project's going to generate some cash flows. Do we care? No, we're all talking about the year 0. The WACC is 8%. Do we care? No, we're only talking about that very first time 0. So then they tell us that the total debt ratio is 0.6. We need that. They tell us the flotation cost for equity is 7%. And the flotation cost for debt is 4%. And blah, blah, blah. So we're going to stay with the capital structure. So what are we going to do here? Well, the first thing we need to do is figure out the weighted average flotation cost, which is F sub 0, and that's going to be equal to, let's call it equity over value times the flotation cost of equity plus debt over value, or that's the total value, times the flotation cost of debt. What did they say? We have 60% is the debt ratio. That's going to be this one right here. What does that mean that the weight on equity is? 0.4. I got to add to 1. Flotation cost of equity is how much? 7%? And flotation cost of debt is how much? 4%. So this is 2.8%. This is 2.4%. We add those together and we get 5.2%. Now, what do I do with that? Well, that time 0 cash flow is going to be the amount to be raised. And that is the amount needed divided by 1 minus F sub 0. How much are we needing at time 0? 100. Divided by 1 minus 0.052. Remember, you've got to turn this into a decimal. And if I plug and chug, I think I'm going to get that to be 105.49. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Boom. Number 2. A firm's equity beta is 0.9 and its debt is risk-free. If the, oh, for shame, she's late. Given a 0.8 debt to equity ratio, what is the firm's asset beta? So we've got equity beta, we've got asset beta, we've got this formula beta of the equity is equal to beta of the assets times the equity multiplier. Do you guys remember that? Okay, now, how in the world am I going to get to equity multiplier? Yeah, it's 1 plus the debt to equity ratio. So what I've got here is 0.9 is equal to the beta of the alpha, or the beta of the assets, multiplied by 1 plus 0.8, which is 1.8. And so all I gotta do now is divide both sides by 1.8 to find out that the beta of the assets is 0.5. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. Now, go down and read what they want first. And they're wanting to know what is the weight for common equity used in the computation of Jack IT's WACC. Do we actually have to calculate WACC? No. So we're going to read back through this and see what we've got going on here. We've got 5 million shares of common, 1 million shares of preferred, and 20,000 bonds. This one's a little kinkier than usual because we have preferred stock in there too. So here's your formula. Our WACC is equal to the common divided by the total value times the required return on the common plus preferred divided by total value times the required return on the preferred plus debt over the total value times the required return on debt times what?
1 minus 2.
Yeah, 1 minus t. Okay, now, next thing you need to know, that total value is C plus P plus D. Are you with me so far? Okay, so let's figure out what these things are. C, P, D. For C, we've got 5 million shares of common stock outstanding, each for $25 a share. 5 million times 25. I get that to be 125 million. Does that sound right? Okay, the preferred has 1 million shares outstanding and they're selling for $12 per share. I think that's 12 million. Does that sound right?
Yes.
Now, the debt is a little trickier because we have 20,000 bonds outstanding, but are they selling at face value?
No.
No, they're selling at 99% of par. So those things are each worth $990, and there are 20,000 of them. And so, what does that give us?
18,800,000.
19,800,000. So 19.8 million?
Yes.
Okay, now how do I get V? Yeah, I'm going to add all these up. So I've got 137 plus 20 is 147, 146.8. Is that right? 156. More than that. So 31.8, 156. There we go. Okay, did I get that right?
Yep.
Okay, so all I got to do to get my weight for C is 125 divided by 156.8. What happens to the millions? Yeah, they cancel out, so I don't need to punch all the zeros into my calculator. That's crazy. Okay, does that get us where we need to be? Okay, so there's number 4. So we go down here to the bottom and it says, what is the WACC? So we're going to have to do the whole enchilada. PNB Industries has 20 million shares of common stock with a market value of 19 per share. Company also has preferred stock with a market value of 40 million. 400,000 bonds outstanding, each with a face value of 1,000. Did I need to tell you that? No. Selling at 98% of par value. The cost of equity is 16%, the cost of preferred is 13%, the cost of debt is 9%, and they give us the tax rate and they want to know the WACC. So we've got the same formula here. And so up top we've got 20 million times $19 per share. 20 million times 19. Is that 380 million?
Yes.
Okay, preferred, they said, they just gave it to us, didn't they, 40 million? And the debt is 400,000 bonds times, they're each selling for 980. Does that give us what, 392 million?
Yes.
Okay, so 300, or 420 million plus 392 million, that's 820 million, 812 million?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so now we're going to plug into our equation here. So we've got our common 380 divided by 812. What happens to the millions? Cancel out. And what's the return on common? Yeah, and notice it says cost of equity. If it says cost of equity, they're really talking about common because they're going to call up preferred separately. So it's 16%. Plus, we've got, let's do the preferred next. 40 over 812 times, what's the return on that? 13%. Plus 40 million divided by 812 million times, what's the required return on the debt? 9%. But what else do we have to do?
Is it full?
That last one's not for you.
Yeah.
It's two.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you. Times 9%, then what do I need to multiply by? 1 minus taxes, right? What's the tax rate? 40. Okay, now, here's the way that I work through these on the calculator. I'm going to say clear, and I will say 380 times 16 divided by 812 equal. Now, I am not going to try to write that down. I'm not going to try to memorize it. I'm going to say store 1. Then, and if you make a mistake, let me know. 40 times 13 equal, divided by 812 equal. What do I do with this? Store where? 2. And then finally, I've got 392 times 9 times 0.6 divided by 812 equal. What do I do with this? Store 3. Do you guys know where I got 0.6? It's just 1 minus 0.4. Okay, so now I just say recall 1 plus recall 2 plus recall 3 equals. I'm getting 10.73%. Is that right?
Yep.
Cool. Okay, on this one, they're wanting to know WACC. And this is actually a quite easy one. Suppose that Glamour Nails capital structure is 40% equity, 60% debt. Its before tax cost of debt is 5%, cost of equity is 12%. If the appropriate weighted average tax rate is 40%, what will Glamour Nails WACC be? Folks, I'm disappointed you needed to see this one. Here we go. Our WACC is equal to E over V times the required return on equity plus D over V times the required return on debt times what? 1 minus T. Okay, and they tell us, by the way, they give us both the percent equity and the percent debt. Do they have to do that? No, because they got to add the 1, right? Okay, it's 40% equity, 0.4 multiplied by what's the required return on equity? 12%. Plus, so it's 0.6 here, and the before tax cost of debt is what, 5%? Multiplied by what's the tax rate? Okay, so it's 1 minus, 1 minus 0.4 here. And so here we're talking 4.8%. So this is 3% times 0.6, is that 1.8%?
Yep.
Then we add it all together and get 6.6%.
Yep.
Cool. Okay, so another one down. 6, projects A and B are mutually exclusive. Should we use IRR? Can you immediately eliminate half the options? Yeah. Okay, so what are we gonna do here? We're gonna use NPV, CF second, clear work. What is CF0 for project A? 25,000 negative. Enter, arrow down. What is C01? 10,000. Enter, arrow down. What's F01? 4. Enter. And so then we are going to hit the NPV button. The I for Y, or the I is 11. Enter, arrow down, compute. I'm getting 6,000. 6,024.47 or something like that. Now let's get the second one. CF second, clear work. What's the initial investment for project B?
10,000.
Yeah, 10,000, gotta make it negative, enter, arrow down. What's C01? 0, enter, arrow down. What's F01? 3, because we got 3 years of nothing. And then what happens in year 4? 25,000. Enter. NPV, 11, enter, arrow down, compute. I'm getting 6,468 and some change. I don't have to go any further than that because we already know that NPV of B is higher than A. Which one do you choose? B, why? NPV is higher, and the goal of financial management is to maximize shareholder wealth. Okay, they want to know the profitability index. I can hear some of you deflating. Okay, PI equals 1 plus NPV divided by the initial investment, which must be positive. Don't put it in as a negative. So here we go. CF, second, clear work. What's CF0? 440, negative, enter, arrow down. What's C01? 120, enter, arrow down, C02. 140, enter, arrow down, C03. 155, enter, arrow down, and the last one is 180. Enter. How do I find NPV? I hit the button that says NPV. Discount rate of 14%, 14, enter, arrow down, compute. I'm getting negative, by the way, it's important to know, negative 15.82. Are we going to accept or reject this project? Yeah, so we can immediately mark through anything that says accept down below. And if we know the rule that we only accept ones with higher than 1, we know it can't be 1.04, so we would choose the last one. But just in case you want to see the math, here we go. Divide by that initial investment, which is positive, and then I'm going to add 1, and that gets us to 0.96. Less than 1, so we reject it. Questions? Okay. Compute the payback statistic for Project X. Okay, when we do payback, we always want to have our times. So we've got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that's as far as it goes, isn't it? Yeah, okay. And our cash flows, minus 1,500, minus 100, that's a little tricky. Positive 150, positive 150, 0 in year 4, and then 2,500 here in year 5. Remember, the part you're going to need to add is this balance column over here. Minus 1,500. If I lose another $100, what's the balance now?
Minus 16.
Minus 1,600. I gained back 150. Now we're at minus 1,450. Is that correct?
Yes.
I gained back another 150. Now we're at minus 1,300. Nothing changes in year 4, right? So we still got minus 1,300. And then when we go through this time, This thing's gonna be positive. In fact, we'll go ahead and write it out here, 1,200. What does that mean? Where was the break even?
After 4.
Yeah, between 4 and 5. They're telling us our arbitrary cutoff is 4 years. We already know we're going to reject it, right? And so we can cross through the ones that say accept, and we know that if it were 3.78 years, we would be accepting it. So we know the answer has to be 4.52 reject, but let's go ahead and prove it to you. How do we figure that, the decimal? We take the last year that has a negative number for the balance, and then we add the money we still owe, 1,300, divided by the number of the amount of money we'll get in the next year, which is 2,500, and that gives us 4.52. Questions? Okay. Compute the IRR statistic and note whether the firm should accept or reject the project. So, CF, second, clear work. Time 0, 100. Negative, enter, arrow down. C01, 100, negative, enter. Now you might look at that and say, wait a minute, there's more than one negative. This is unconventional cash flows. It's not. As long as there's only one sign change, then we're good to go. Arrow, enter, arrow down, enter, because there's no cash flow in year 2. Arrow down, 150, enter, arrow down, 100, enter, arrow down. Finally, C05 is 25, enter. Let me know if I've made a mistake. What button do I hit next? IRR. Is the IRR 0? No, what do I need to hit? Compute. I'm getting 11.06%. Now, so it's either going to be this one or this one. What's the rule for IRR?
That's greater than the discount.
Yeah, we accept it if the IRR is greater than the discount rate, in most cases, right, including this one. And so 11.06 is greater than 10, so we would accept the project. Any questions? Okay. Number 10. Okay, this one is incredibly important that you read down to the end. What change in net working capital occurs at the end of year 1? Because otherwise, you're going to be reading through all this, and what do you think you're going to be calculating? Yeah, you're going to be calculating stuff for NPV, and you don't necessarily need that. We just need to know the change in net working capital at the end of year 1. And so we go back and read what it says. It says net working capital requirements at the beginning of each year will be approximately 20% of the projected sales during the coming year. So now all we have to do is figure out the sales for years 0, 1, and 2. Does it even matter year 3? No, because it's beyond what we're trying to figure out. Is there any sales at time 0? No. Time 1, we've got 6,000 units times $40 per unit. Was that 240,000 bucks? Okay, so 240,000 bucks. And then in the next year, we had 9,000 units at $40 a piece. Is that 360,000 bucks? Okay. Net working capital is going to be, for year 0, is going to be 20% of the coming year. What's 20% of 240,000?
48.
Yeah, 48,000. And then what is 20% of 360,000? 72,000. What's 72,000 minus 48,000? 24,000, which, is that the correct answer?
Yep.
Very good. Okay, your firm needs a machine which costs $100,000. Oh, well, by the way, let's start down here at the end. What's the after-tax salvage value? After-tax salvage value, let's go ahead and write the formula down. Okay, your firm machine that costs $100,000 required da-da-da-da-da. Okay, it says assuming a tax rate of 35% and a discount rate of 10%, if this machine can be sold for $20,000 at the end of year 3, what is the after-tax salvage value? So that $20,000 is the market value. What's the tax rate? 0.35. And we'll multiply it by 20,000. And then we have to figure out what is the book value. There are two ways to figure out the book value. You could figure out using MACRS for year 1, year 2, and year 3, and subtract that all from 100, from the initial investment. But what would be an easier way? Figure out what's left, right? And the amount that's left here is 7.41%. 7.41% of 100,000 is $7,410. Now, I cannot do this math in my head. Does anybody have the numbers? Oh, let's go ahead and plug them in. So here's how I would do this. I would start with 20,000 minus 7,410 equal, multiplied by 0.35 equal, and then I would hit negative plus 20, 1, 2, 3, equal. I'm getting $15,593.50. Is that correct? Cool. Suppose, so it's asking another ATSV here. Suppose you sell an asset for $79,000. What's the tax rate? 40%. And what's the book value? 119,000. Okay. This number minus this number is going to be positive or negative? Negative. So we've got negative 40,000 here times negative 0.4. When I do all that together, I get plus $16,000. Can you see that? We're getting a tax rebate because this thing wasn't as worth as much as we had it on the books for. Means we've overpaid our taxes to the tune of $16,000. That's why we're getting that money back. 16,000 plus 79,000 is 95,000. Is that the right answer?
Yes.
Okay, whew, look at this. Calculate the NPV of the project. Tell you what we're going to do. Exactly the same thing you should do on the exam. We're going to skip that and we're going to come back to it if we have time. Okay, you're trying to pick the least expensive machine for the company. You have two choices. Machine A, which will cost $60,000 to purchase, will have an OCF of minus 3,500. What are we going to figure here? Yeah, EAC, and it's either equivalent annual cost or effective annual cost depending on who you ask. So our first thing to do is we're going to say CF, second, clear work. The first cash flow for machine A is $60,000. 60,000, but it's negative. But all these are negative, right? So I'm going to just make them all positive. So I'm going to say CF0 is 60,000. I'm going to enter, arrow down. C01 is 3,500. Once again, these are all expenses. Arrow down. What do I put in for F01? 3. Enter. Now, my next step will be to find the NPV. NPV, what is the required return? 13. Enter, arrow down, compute. Okay, now I have the present value of all those expenses. And I want to blow them back out over the same time period to give myself an annuity with 3 identical payments. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hit store 1, just in case everything goes horribly wrong. I'm going to hit clear twice, and then I'm going to hit second, clear TVM. What button should I hit next? Present value. What should I put in for N? 3. What should I put in for I for Y? 13. And what should I compute? Compute, PMT. I'm getting an equivalent annual cost of $28,911. Does that sound right?
Yes.
EACA equals 28,911. 28,000, oh my goodness, 28,911. Okay, now, we're going to do the same thing to the second one. The second machine costs $70,000 and will have cost of $4,900 a year through its 4-year life. So I'm going to hit CF, second, clear work. What should I put in for C of 0? 70,000. Enter, arrow down. What for C01? 4,900. Remember, these are all the same sign. Enter, arrow down. What's F01? 4. Enter. What do I do next? NPV 13. Enter, arrow down, compute. I'm getting $84,575. Is that what you get? Okay, what do I do with that number next? Yeah, store it in case everything goes horribly wrong. I hit clear twice. Second, clear TVM. What button should I hit next? Present value. What do I put in for N? 4. And I put in 13 for I for Y. What do I compute? Compute, PMT. I'm getting 28,433. Which one should you choose?
Machine B.
Yeah, machine B, because it's got the lower equivalent annual cost. If you ever have trouble figuring out which one to buy, just depend on your cheap, greedy heart to tell you the truth. Okay, you're considering the purchase of 2 machines. This is basically the same thing. So here we go. CF, second, clear work. Machine A costs $45 initially. Enter, arrow down. And then $65 per year in maintenance. Enter, arrow down. Machine A has a life of 2 years, so this is going to be 2. Enter, what do I do next? NPV, once again the discount rate is 13%. Arrow down, compute. I'm getting $153.43. What should I do? Store 1. Clear, clear, second. Clear TVM. What button do I hit next? PV. What do I put in for N? 2. And what do I put in for I for Y? 13. Enter, or I for Y. And what do I compute? Payment. I'm getting $91.98. Okay, now I'm going to say CF, second, clear work. Machine B has an initial cost of 80. Enter, arrow down. C01, 35. Enter, what's that 01? 3, it's got a 3-year life. And now I'm going to hit NPV, 13, enter, arrow down, compute. What do I do now? Store 1, in case everything goes terribly wrong. I'm going to hit clear twice, then what do I do? Second, clear TVM. Guys are skipping steps. Yeah, there's PV. What do I put in for N? 3. What do I put in for I for Y? 13. And what do I compute? Payment. I'm coming up with $68.88. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. So we should be choosing EACB, or machine B, because it's $68.88. We choose the lower one. Questions?
So if it's a project, the initial investment is negative, and then if it's for machines, then the initial
Yeah,
investment is
so he's got a good question here. Almost every other thing that we do, you're going to have a negative cash flow times 0, maybe even 1, but usually always cash at times 0, and then positive from there on. However, when we're doing equivalent annual cost, all the numbers we're dealing with are costs. They all have the same signs. In theory, you could have them all be negative. You're going to get exactly the same answer. Cool. Other questions? Okay. 16. Ooh, we're getting into your favorites. The following data on a merger is given. And it gives us all this information, and it tells us the value of firm AB. And it says the value of firm AB represents a total value and a stock acquisition, where all the value remains in the firm. And so what we're really talking about here, the value of AB is equal to the standalone value of A plus the standalone value of B plus the incremental value of the merger. Okay, now they have proposed to acquire firm B at a price of $20 per share of firm B stock. Calculate the NPV of the merger. Okay, so let's figure out, in order to do NPV, we have to have VB star minus the cost to acquire. And to get VB star, we need the standalone value of B plus delta V. What's the standalone value of B? They've already figured it out for you, right? 400? Plus delta V. But we don't know delta V yet. But we do know some other things. We know up here 11,200. We know the standalone value of A is 10,000. We know the standalone value of B is 400. And so therefore, delta V must be how much? 11,200 minus 10,000 is 1,200 minus 400 is 800. It has to be 800. And so VB star is 1,200. NPV, therefore, is equal to 1,200 minus the cost to acquire. How much are we spending to acquire this? $20 per share times 40 shares. What's 20 times 40? 800. Minus 800 is equal to 400. So the NPV for this is 400. Is that correct?
Yes.
Very good. Okay, so the question is what will be the post-merger price per share if firm A pays in cash? Firm A pays in cash. Well, let's see here. If the thing altogether has a value of 11,200, and then we're paying out a certain amount of cash for firm B, how much cash are we paying out? $20 per share times 40 shares, so we're paying out 800. What we're left with is 10,400 after that cash leaves the firm. Now, how many shares outstanding at firm A? 100. And so, what does that? Yeah, it's $104 a share. Any questions? Okay. Remember, with a stock acquisition, all the value stays in the firm. With a cash acquisition, the cash amount leaves the firm. Cost of capital of firm 12.2 compared to 17.1 for firm B. Market returns 10.8%, risk-free rates 4%. Firm A is considering acquisition of firm B. Should the acquisition occur, it will be financed with debt with an interest cost of 8.7%. Do you get the feeling that they're just throwing a bunch of numbers? Absolutely. Which of these rates is most appropriate to use as a discount rate when analyzing the acquisition of firm B by firm A? What do you think?
17.1.
17.1. Why?
Because it's risky.
Yeah, so it's the target's assets we're buying, right? And the riskiness of those target's assets require 17.1% return. Therefore, 17.1 would be our choice. Questions? Do you guys have questions?
No, I was just talking through it.
You were just talking to her? Oh my goodness.
Through it.
Oh, talking through it.
Talking out loud. Speech out.
Okay. Firm A has a value of 100 million, Firm B has a value of 70 million. Merging the two would allow a cost savings with a present value of 10 million. Firm A purchases Firm B for 75 million. What's the incremental gain from this merger? How many of you thought you were going to have to do a calculation? What is it? It's just that 10 million, right? That's the incremental value. It's what changes as a result of putting these things together. Firm A has a value of 100 million. B has a value of 60 million. Merging the two would allow cost savings with a present value of $10 million. Firm A purchases Firm B for 65 million. How much do Firm A's shareholders gain in PV from this merger? Okay, so back over here, we've got our formulas. So the Firm A has a value of 100. Firm B has a value of how much? 60. And what's the incremental value? 10. And so that's 170. Let's see, NPV is the standalone, or is VB star minus the cost to acquire. We need to find out VB star. It's VB plus delta V. VB here is 60 plus 10. Does that sound right?
Yes.
70. And then the NPV is going to be the VB star, which we just said is 70, minus the cost to acquire. How much is the cost to acquire? 65. And so the NPV has to be 5 million. Is that correct?
Yes.
Wow, we're burning through these. That's cool. Here we go. You purchase one IBM July 120 call contract for a premium of $6. You hold the option until the expiration date when IBM sells for $122 a share. You will realize a blank on the investment. Okay, first of all, is this thing in the money or out of the money when it expires? Out of the money. How do we know? Stock price is above the exercise price. If it were a call option, it would be in the money, but it's a put option. Now, given that it's out of the money, what's the value of the option? It's worthless, right? It's worthless.
Isn't that a call option?
Oh shit, you're right. Okay. I thought I read put for whatever reason. Okay, so it is a call option. Okay, so this is in the money by how much? $2 a share. Now, so we've got our $2 a share. When we make that, we're going. By the way, how many shares in a contract? 100. So when we exercise that, how much money are we going to get? 200. But how much do we have to pay for the contract? 600. So 200 minus 600 is $400 loss. Is that correct? Okay. Sorry about that. Thank you for catching me. An investor is bearish on a particular stock. What does that mean? The price is going down, right? They decided to buy a put with a strike price of 25, ignoring commissions. If the option was purchased for $1.85, what's the break-even price for the investor? If this thing goes down to $24 and they exercise the option, they are going to gain $1 on the option, but they're going to have paid $1.85 for that. If I wanted to break even, basically that stock price has to go down to what, $23.15, so they can recoup that option premium. So it's just the strike price minus the premium. Now with a call option, the break even would be strike price plus the premium. 22. You are considering purchasing a put option on a stock with a current price of $32 per share. The exercise price is $35. Is this thing in the money or out of the money right now? It's in the money because the stock price is below the exercise price, and this is, let me verify this is a put option. Now, the price of the corresponding call option is $2.25. Ooh, what are you starting to smell? Put-call parity, right? According to put-call parity theorem, if a risk-free interest rate is 4% and there are 90 days till expiration, the value of the put should be. Whew, here we go. Tell me if I get the formula wrong. Put plus stock price is equal to call plus. Does that look right?
Yeah.
Okay, now they're asking for the value of the put, so we just need to rearrange that to be C0 plus E over 1 plus R to the T minus the stock price. How much is the call option worth? $2.25. And the exercise price is how much? 35. Divide by, what's the required rate of return? It's the risk-free, right? 4%. So we've got 1.04 here, but it's only over 90 days. That's our T. Okay, minus the current stock price, which we said is what, 32?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what I want to do. I want to take that 1.04 raised to the open parentheses 90 divide by 365 close parentheses equals. Then I'm going to hit this 1 over x button to throw that down into the basement. Do you guys know how to use the 1 over x button? Okay, so I'm going to hit the 1 over x button, throw it into the basement. I'm going to multiply that by 35. And then I'm going to add the call, which is 225. And I'm going to subtract the stock price, which is 32. I'm getting $4.91. Is that correct? Yeah, now we could do this using the E to the RT. It's going to come out very, very close. Go home and play with that if you're interested in seeing how very close it is. Number 24, a call option is has an exercise price of 34. Stock price is 36.50. The option is trading at 275. What is the speculative value? Whenever someone asks you the speculative value, the first thing is you want to figure out the intrinsic value. What's the intrinsic value right now? Yeah, 36.5 minus 34, 250 a share, right? So if the intrinsic value is 250 a share and the price is 275, how much must the speculative value be? 25 cents. Is that correct answer?
Yes.
A put option has a strike price of 35 and a stock price of 37. If the option is trading at 225, what's the time or speculative value embedded in the option? What is this in the money or out of the money right now? Out of the money. What's the intrinsic value? 0. So what must the entire premium represent? Speculative value. Is $2.25 the correct answer? Yeah, okay. Now, we've saved our nasty one for last, and thankfully we have time to work through it. I hope this is the same way for you on the exam. Okay, we're back to question 13. Come on, stop that. Okay, they're asking us to calculate NPV. And when we do NPV, we are looking for CFFA, which is OCF minus NCF minus the change in net working capital. Have I blown any minds yet? Okay, good. So as we run through here, those are the things we're going to be thinking about. Project requires an additional investment in equipment of $81,000 and requires an additional investment of working capital of $19,000. Okay, so we've already got some information we can put into a table. So we're going to have year, and we're going to have year, but then we're going to have OCF, NCS, and the change in net working capital. Now, how many years is this project going on? 3 years. Is there anything going on in the middle of the project, or is it kind of quiet in the middle of the project?
Quiet.
Yeah, it's quiet. There's no additional investments. There's no weird changes in net working capital. And so we can look at our years like this. We know there's going to be some weird stuff at time 0. And then we know there's going to be some weird stuff at time 3. But times 1 and 2 are identical. And so instead of writing the same numbers out twice, that's what I would do. Now, they're telling us that the net capital spending up front is $81,000. Keep in mind, at this point, it's positive because it is net capital spending. Net working capital, we are having to invest $19,000. That's also money coming out of our pocket, but we're going to handle both of those with a negative sign in the formula. What is the operating cash flow in year 0? 0. It's always. And then there's some other things we can mark 0 right now. For instance, the net capital spending in years 1 and 2, there's no change. The change in net working capital is 0 for those 2 years. So now really all I've got to do is I've got to figure out OCF, which is going to be here and here. I've got to figure out the net capital spending at the end and the change in net working capital at the other end. By the way, do we already know what the change in net working capital is going to be at the other end?
Yes.
Yeah, how much?
19,000.
Yes, minus 19,000, right? Because we get that money back. If you add this line together and it doesn't equal 0, you've done something wrong. Now, the next thing we can look for is the after-tax salvage value, because that's going to be our NCS at the end. They tell us the equipment depreciates using straight line at the end. They can sell it for $20,000. So market value minus taxes multiplied by market value minus book value. 20,000 minus what's the tax rate? 35%.
There's 30.
Oh, 30, sorry. Multiplied by market value, 20,000. What's the book value at the end? 0. How do I know? Yeah, we straight line depreciated it to 0, right? And so it's going to be 0. And so what we're really looking at here, I think, is $14,000. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, that's money coming back to us, so it's negative spending. Any questions so far? Okay, now for the thing that gives people the most pain, and that is finding OCF. So we're going to start out with our sales. How much are our sales? 100,000. And then they say estimated manufacturing costs are 60% of revenue. So costs 60,000. What else do I need to subtract out before I figure my taxes?
Depreciation.
Yeah, depreciation. Now, how do I figure depreciation?
The equipment investment.
Yep.
By the number of years.
Yeah, so the equipment investment is 81,000. We're going to divide it by 3 years. I believe 81,000 divided by 3 is 27,000. Does that sound right? And so I can do all this, and that gives me my EBIT, or pre-tax income. So 100,000 minus 60,000 is 40,000, minus 27,000, I believe, is $13,000. Does that sound right? Okay, now, my taxes are going to be 30% of that amount. So I think they're going to be 3,900. Does that sound right? Okay, now, how do I figure out OCF? Well, OCF is just EBIT plus depreciation minus tax equals 13,000 plus 27,000 minus 3,900. So this is 40,000, is it 36,100?
Yep.
36,100. Where else does this go?
Under year 3.
Yep. Okay, now, I'm going to go ahead and sum up my columns, or use the formula. This one is, so this is CFFA. OCF minus NCS minus the change in net working capital gives us minus $100,000. What's the sum here? Yeah, even you guys can do that math in your head. Very good. Okay, now, we're picking up an additional 33,000 here. So I think this is 69,100. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, now, how am I going to put this into my calculator? Yeah, I'm going to use the CF keys. CF, second clear work. What's CF 0?
Negative 100,000.
Yeah, negative 100,000, negative, enter, arrow down. What's C, 0, 1? 36, 100. Enter, arrow down. This is where it's tricky. What's F 0, 1? 2, because we got 2 years in a row like that. Enter, arrow down. What's C, 0, 2?
69,100.
Yeah, 69, 100. Enter. What do I do next? NPV. What's I? 15. Enter. Arrow down. Compute. I'm getting $4,122.46. Is that the correct answer?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what were the tricks to this thing? First of all, you don't have to, and I don't think I'm going to give you anything on the exam that's going to be funky in the middle, right? Or it's going to change. So the time 0, the last year, and then everything in between should just be OCF. I can't think of what other, you always get your net working capital back. You get back your after-tax salvage value here. By the way, one of the homework or practice said we're putting in an order entry system that is going to reduce net working capital over its life. So in that case, it would be minus whatever here. What would be going on the other end? Positive, because when you finish the project, you lose that benefit, right? And so you got to keep an eye out on whether net working capital, typically 99% of the time it's going up, but sometimes we'll be tricky and we'll make it go down. Any questions? Okay, would you like to hear today's secret for the day?
Yep.
It's the secret to losing weight. Eat less, exercise more. It's simple, right? But is it easy?
No.
No! In fact, most things you see in life, they're pretty simple, but they're not easy. And following up on last time, with unintended consequences. Have you guys heard of Ozempic? So what's the good thing Ozempic's supposed to do for you? Lose weight. Did you see in the newspaper today, 70 people every day are being admitted to the hospital for side effects? Hearing loss, uncontrollable bowel movements, all sorts of crazy, crazy crap, literally. Now, is that the worst thing? No, this stuff is eating away at people's bones and at their muscles. 10 years from now, I guarantee you we will be paying lots of money and enduring lots of pain because of the unintended consequences of these drugs. Questions? Okay, exam 3. Get in there before 8 o'clock Sunday night. And then if you have questions along the way, before you get in the exam, of course, copy, paste, and send them to me. By the way, I have really enjoyed having this class. This is probably the last time I'll see a lot of you. I've enjoyed having it. This is the best class I've had in a long time. And I will be at the graduation reception a week from tomorrow. And so if you want to get together and take some fun snaps for Instagram or whatever, we can do that. I will see you then. Bye-bye.